You're listening to the Fan Club Podcast, where two polar opposites experience each other's fandoms for the very first time.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of the Fan Club Podcast. My name is Sarah.
This is Matthew.
And today we are covering Ant-Man, which Matthew has been waiting for pretty much since we started this whole thing.
Yes.
This is your favorite Marvel film, correct?
One of.
What's the other one that you've been looking
Ragnarok.
for? Ragnarok. He has been like almost every other week, I swear. He's like, can we just skip this one and just do Ant-Man instead? If we just skip this one, do Ant-Man instead. Like almost every single time. And I'm not going to lie, he's been, even way before we decided to do this podcast, he's been building this up and building this up and building this up and building this up.
It was one of the funniest until Ragnarok.
I will say we have very different senses of humor. The whole concept of this podcast is that we're polar opposites.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows us in person, will attest to this, that we are complete polar opposites. We have very different senses of humor. I'm much more sarcastic than Matthew is. And so you would think that the comedy in this movie would like go right along with my sense of humor. I didn't find this movie nearly as funny as you do. I think maybe because you know that whole thing where when somebody tells you a joke is funny and then you just don't think it's funny because they told you it was funny?
Yeah, I see that.
That's kind of how I felt. I didn't dislike this movie, I will tell you that much. There are things that I disliked about this movie, not in terms of the content, but I really didn't like the bug stuff. I can tell you that much. Found that part like real unsettling.
I mean, what do you expect?
I didn't know what I expected.
The movie is called Ant-Man.
I know. I didn't love the bug stuff.
You can't.
I found that, like, I understand they're CGI ants. I get it.
He's not the anti-bug man. He's not Termex.
Terminix?
He's not Terminix.
I feel like this movie had a lot to live up to as far as how it was built up to me. Then again, I've had that happen a couple of times in this series. So, like I said, I didn't dislike this movie. We'll get into it. I have my own issues that aren't really important to the greater scheme of things, but, like, I think what it comes down to, for me, is the fact that I really enjoyed Age of Ultron. Yeah. I felt like Age of Ultron was a good end to a phase, and I felt like this
would have been better
as
to start the next phase, to start phase 3.
Or switch Ant-Man and Ultron. I know that Ant-Man makes multiple references to the events in Ultron.
Yeah, but Ultron, in my opinion, kind of like what you were saying, was a great end to the phase 2.
Yeah, I just felt like coming right off of Ultron, this movie, I feel like didn't live up to how that movie kind of, I hate
the vibe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't live up to how Ultron made me feel in the end.
Yeah, because Ultron was a great ending.
It felt like, great, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
This movie felt like it was more exposition for what's to come.
Yeah.
And the end of the movie, like the end of each Avengers movie, I feel like should be the end to each phase, because it like sets up the next stage.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just thought it was a strange choice to put this at the end of a phase.
Yeah. It makes, yeah.
But, and maybe that was the reason why I because we were coming straight from Ultron.
Yeah.
If there was a movie in between, maybe I wouldn't think this.
Yeah. Because we go from one that was pretty much action, 90% of the time?
Well, and
to a movie where there's 20% action?
I hate to say it, but I was kind of bored in Ant-Man.
Okay.
I hate to say that because, I don't think these movies are boring. I just, in comparison.
Yeah, it's
especially because you have to understand, we are watching these movies pretty much once a week, if not 2 a week.
Yeah.
And this is not how people normally will watch these movies.
It would be time in between.
So, like, it's really, really hard, at least for my brain, to not directly compare them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of momentum. That's, I think, what it comes down to. There's a lot of momentum coming off of Voltron.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was, like, it kind of slowed the momentum a little bit.
Yeah.
This movie was released in 2015 and directed by Peyton Reed, whom I've never heard of. He's apparently a giant MCU nerd. So, like, he really wanted to do this movie. And apparently this movie was, like, in the works in the phase 1, but they never figured out how to do it.
Oh, he did Bring It On.
Oh, the first Bring It On?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. He did the first Bring It On.
He did Bring It On.
What an iconic movie.
He did Bring It On, Yes Man.
So he's much more in the comedy scene. We did some episodes of New Girl.
He's done Mandalorian.
Anyway, let's get into this movie, shall we?
So we start off in
1989.
And
it's a flashback to 1989.
Yeah. When we first see Hank, Peggy, and Stark.
And Howard. Basically, they're meeting with Hank Pym.
Hank retired from being Ant-Man, and he realized that Stark had some of the Pym particles.
Yeah.
So he went in to take back the Pym particles because he didn't trust Howard.
Because something bad had happened to his wife, and obviously at this point we have no idea what that is.
What happened to his wife is not Stark's fault.
But Pym doesn't want
He doesn't want the technology
to fall into the wrong hands.
Yes.
Because of what happened to his wife.
Yes. So he goes in, steals the Hank particles back from Howard, while they aged Peggy, but de-aged
Hank.
Yeah,
I was kind of excited to see Peggy again. And I think they did a really good job with these, like, aging and de-aging.
Yeah. Which we're going to see them de-age a few more people coming up.
It's kind of a similar technology to how they did pre-Serum Steve a little bit. Mm-hmm. A little bit. Not exactly the same technology.
Because what they did was, for Michael Douglas, they put dots on his face.
Kind of like how they got Voldemort's nose.
Yes, but all over his face.
Yeah. So then we go to present day San Francisco.
Which is 2015.
And Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, is getting out of prison.
So there's this ritual whenever someone gets out of that prison.
It's San Quentin.
San Quentin, where they fight to get out. Where we start off with the movie seeing Paul Rudd get essentially beaten up.
Yeah, that's a weird ritual. But so we basically figure out that he was in prison for breaking and entering. It seems like he's kind of a Robin Hood type.
He's more of a cat burglar.
Yeah, but he was, like, stealing from this rich, corrupt company, and...
Yeah, so the company that he worked for was stealing money from its customers.
Yeah.
Scott found out, and he sent all the money back.
And we have Matthew's arguably favorite scene, is this van scene.
Not this one. My favorite one is the one with the Stan Lee cameo in it.
Oh, at the end.
No, I do like the van scene. It is really funny. With just everything that bad happened to Michael Peña's character, Luis. But he's so upbeat about it.
So apparently, Michael Peña was inspired by his real-life buddy, who actually went to prison and actually talks like that. Uh-huh. But yeah, Scott is, because he's an ex-con, he has having a hard time finding a job, and so he has a brief stint at Baskin-Robbins. Yep. Apparently this is supposed to be Chipotle.
Yep.
but it got reworked because Chipotle didn't like the bad press.
Which I don't see how it would get bad press.
It's a very brief mention, so...
Yeah, but the funny thing is, so the name tag that he's wearing...
is Jack.
Which is his...
son's name. And then Darby is the other employee.
Which is
his other kid's name. So there is so much exposition dump and so much foreshadowing in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
We get a scene that Dr. Cross, whose name is Darren Cross, who I just keep in my brain referring to as Darren Criss.
Yeah.
And then reminding myself his last name is Cross.
Yeah.
It's a little too close.
But
anyway, so we got like his two other team members played by T.I. and who's the other guy? I'm not going to try to say that last name. Not going to do it.
But he is one of the only people to be in the mainstream DC because he was in Suicide Squad 2, which is part of the...
I thought Zach Braff, or not Zach Braff, Zach, what's the other Zach? Shazam.
No. Technically, yeah. But, like, a major role in both.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he had a major role in Thor. Because he was just,
what was his name? I don't know why my brain... I don't know why...
Farnell or something like
Fandral.
that. Fandral.
My brain was about to call him Falcor, which is the thing from Neverending Story.
Yeah.
We get this scene that Dr. Cross introduces the yellow jacket, which is kind of his answer to the Ant-Man suit.
Yeah, it's his version of it.
Again, with these dang villains, I immediately knew. I was like...
You guessed the wrong person at first.
I thought it was the dude that he killed in the bathroom later. At first.
Really, him? No, the first one you said was the other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. The one that Hank, like, broke his nose on the table. That's who you thought was the main villain at first. The one that said, is he a security threat? And then Howard said, no, he's not.
I think I might have briefly said that, but then But no, Dr. Cross, as soon as he started talking, I was like, villain.
Which makes sense now why he wanted to keep the Ant-Man, the Pym particles.
He gave me the same kind of vibes that the guy from Iron Man 3 gave me. Smarmy mullet dude.
Yeah.
Like, he gave me the same kind of energy.
Yeah.
And...
Wait, you thought Frank, the dude that...
There was one line in the beginning that he was, like, talking to Hope, and I was like, could this guy be... He just seemed very bureaucratic to me.
No, but he's the one that said that if you make it, our enemies will get it also. That's who he killed.
Maybe I'm getting him mixed up. I don't know. But anyway, but as I was typing my note that said he has such villain energy, he killed Frank in the bathroom. Yeah. So I was like, okay. So at least my like judgment is true.
Yeah.
My question about that death though. So he basically has this like gun thing that vaporizes, for lack of a better word.
No, so it's his Hank particles. It's the one that he made.
His Pym particles?
Yeah, so I'm just going to call it what it is. The cross product. The cross serum. Whatever it's called.
But it like turns him into like a little blob.
Because, so, we'll learn more about why in a little bit. But it's his version of the Pym particles. Say that 3 times fast.
So all I know about Pym, previous to this movie, was when they opened Avengers Campus, there's a restaurant in Avengers Campus that is themed after Hank Pym.
Yeah.
And all of the food is like, there's like a chicken sandwich where the bun is really tiny and the chicken is really big. And, like, giant pretzels and, like, stuff like that. That is literally the only context that I knew that was things about Avengers Campus.
Yeah.
I knew that Pym had something to do with science and making things big and small. That's all I knew. Yeah. So, yeah, how are you supposed to explain this death? Because he, like, we never hear about Frank ever again.
No.
And are you just supposed to say, like, he just went missing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Apparently, I read something somewhere that they, for the little, like, for the little blob that they did, they used strawberry jam.
Okay. I'm guessing they just CGI'd it yellow or whatever.
No, it was pink.
It was yellow.
The little blob that he wipes off the floor?
Yeah, that's yellow.
No, it was pink.
Okay.
And we have this montage of Luis explaining things. That is very Drunk History-esque.
Yes.
If you've ever seen Drunk History, you know exactly what we mean. It's like, it's...
They would... The narrator would be talking,
but like, it would be like the person in a George Washington costume, like, mouthing the words that the person is saying.
Yes. And this is where we get the Stan Lee cameo.
Mm-hmm.
This is my favorite scene with Luis.
So what exactly is he trying to explain? He's trying to explain this plan.
So, Hank talked to their cleaning lady about a suit because Hank has been watching Scott. Cleaning lady told her boyfriend about this rich guy who has a safe that's just waiting to be robbed, and then the boyfriend tells Luis's friend. Luis's friend tells Luis. Luis tells Ant-Man, because they all know that Luis is friends with Ant-Man. Or with Scott Lang.
Mm-hmm.
Is the essential gist. But it's just with Luis explaining it, people wanted him to explain the events from Iron Man 1.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that...
Endgame.
It kind of reminds me of that scene in, is it Frozen 2?
I've never seen Frozen 2.
Oh my god,
So, I have no idea.
I think it's Frozen 2, where Olaf is, like, explaining the plot of the first Frozen movie to, like, recap another character.
Or would that be one of their shorts that they did with Olaf? Because they did, like,
I don't
5
know.
bajillion
Anybody
shorts
who
of
knows
them.
what I'm talking about, please let me know.
Yeah.
If I've seen Frozen 2 once. I need to rewatch it. And it's been a long time.
That's more than I've ever seen. But, I mean, this is kind of funny. The preview for the first teaser was ant-sized.
Yeah, I read that. It was like super tiny.
1 pixel. But the next day they released a human size.
That's really, really dumb. But it's in line with the comedy in this movie.
Yeah.
That is very dumb. So then we have the scene where Cross comes in with a baby lamb and is like, I'm gonna miniaturize this baby lamb. And he then basically vaporizes it into strawberry jelly.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really sad. And I literally wrote baby lamb R.I.P. in my notes. The lamb was so dang cute. But there's one of the fun facts that I found was the day that they shot that scene, the caterer brought lamb chops to set, which seems a little disturbing. Yeah, they break into the house not knowing that it's Pym's house.
Yeah.
Basically, we don't know at this point that Pym planted all these seeds.
Yeah. So there's a deleted scene where Scott goes in because in, like, the montage of them, like, getting all the parts and building everything, they get a telecommunications uniform.
The reason why Matthew thinks this is so funny is because his day job is working in telecommunications. For privacy reasons, we're not going to say what company, but it's one of the big ones. You know what it is, but we're not going to say which one. But that's the reason why Matthew thinks it's so funny.
But so there's a deleted scene where Scott goes through the house with Hank for, like, a quote-unquote install. But it's more to figure out where everything is.
That's really funny.
Because
I feel like that was, like, speaking to you. You
yeah.
didn't work at the company at that point, though, when this movie came out, though.
No, I got hired in 2017.
Okay. But still.
It was like a phone company. Because you see...
It wasn't a real-life company.
No, because you see Kurt up on the telephone pole.
I just find that really funny as a person that works in telecommunications. Like, rewatching that scene must feel, like, really funny to you.
Scott breaks into the house, completely ninja style, climbing up the side of the house.
There's some line about it's like the steel is like the Titanic or something.
The safe that used the same metal as the Titanic. As everyone knows with the Titanic, it doesn't handle cold well. So what he did was he drilled into it, poured water and liquid nitrogen.
Did he just happen to have liquid nitrogen?
It was in the basement.
What coinky dink?
That's why.
Unless Pym planted it.
Pym planted everything. Pym was testing him.
That's the thing, though. Is like he planted all of the seeds.
Yeah, because he wanted to test Scott's ability to break in to a place that he really had no idea of. You see him putting up the mattress. You see him putting up the blankets. So when it would explode,
or like it wasn't a mattress. It was like a blow up raft.
No, it was a blow up air mattress or raft or something that you can blow up to hide the noise of the door flying back. Mm-hmm. And then the sheet was to be used so that the bolts wouldn't hit him.
Frankly, Scott Lang is a freaking genius.
He is. He has a master's in like
engineering or something?
Electrical engineering or something like that, or a PhD or something in electrical engineering.
And then what he's trying to get, well, he doesn't know this.
He was told that it was money. That's what they all
and so he steals
assumed.
a backpack, and he gets into the bathroom to open the backpack.
No, all that was in there was the suit on the table. So he put the suit in the backpack.
Yeah, but he doesn't know what, he just thinks, like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know what it is, and so he puts it on.
Yeah.
And he shrinks himself.
Yeah, so he's messing around with it. He puts it on, gets super tiny.
And then he comes in contact with a giant rat. And, so, I don't want to get too far into this, but we just moved into, like, a really, really old house. And we've had some run-ins with some rodents. And, I have a newfound rodent, fear that I didn't have before.
Oh, it's a Carbondale.
Yeah.
That's the safe.
And, not gonna lie, him running into this giant rat was really unsettling to me.
Yeah.
Given the fact that I have seen too many rodents now. It's a very old house.
When Ant-Man falls onto the taxi, we see the original Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah. The cab driver.
Yeah. Ant-Man was not on live TV yet until 1979 when it was an SNL skit. Was the first time Ant-Man has ever been in a live action anything. Before, Ant-Man was only in animated cartoons. Was the only time Ant-Man was ever shown.
And we basically figure out that Pym planted all of the seeds for this entire scheme, including all of the people that Luis knew.
No, so he's been watching Scott. So he knew that Scott was friends with Luis.
Who is friends with this person and friends with this person and friend,
dating this person. And who just happened to be
a big mouth.
So when Scott gets out of jail, before he goes and robs Hank, he goes to his daughter's birthday. This is when we first see Cassie, his wife, or his ex-wife, and the wife's boyfriend, who's a cop, who loves to arrest Scott Lang.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then, so his wife, played by Judy Greer, the icon, has a line that really resonated with me. And this line is said later, again, by a different character, but she says, "Be the hero they already think you are." And I don't think this line would have resonated with me prior to having our son. But like, and if you don't have kids or like, you don't have any sort of relationship with a kid, like, this might not resonate as much with you, but like, this line really, like, because like, no matter how bad you think you messed up, your kid's always gonna think you're a rock star.
Yeah.
And it's like the sweetest thing, and like, I just thought that this line specifically was like really, really sweet. And like, his daughter thinks he's the coolest.
Yeah.
Even though he's not a massive part of her life, really.
Yeah.
And
means he's been in jail for about 5 years.
Which his daughter is 5. No, but I just thought that this line was really sweet. And, like, it also plays into the whole, like, I mean, he's a superhero. So,
Yeah.
like, be the hero they already think you are.
Yeah.
And so it's, like, kind of like a double entendre. But, like, I don't know. After becoming a parent, I fully get, like, I don't think I would have found this line as, like, resonant, before I had our son.
Yeah.
But, like, after having him, it really hit home with me in a lot of ways, so...
Scott freaks out with the suit. He goes in and he breaks in, and he gets arrested for breaking in to Hank's house.
Like, he goes back to...
He goes back to Hank's house,
Yeah.
puts the suit back, and then gets arrested.
Yes. And then, so he's sitting in the jail cell, and he sees the ants on the floor, and they're counting down.
Or, this is when he first meets Hank.
Mm-hmm.
Because Hank is acting like his lawyer. And Hank tells him, you need to make sure that you look very closely at some stuff. And then we see the counting down when he goes back in.
Which, we later figure out that, like, Hank can control the ants with his brain.
It's through, like, a hearing aid chip.
Yeah, I don't find this part that particularly realistic.
I mean, there have...
He explained the science. I just don't think it's real. I don't care if you can control them. Ants are still unsanitary. I really don't. Like, I think they're gross.
Yeah. But with Scott flying through the city, bug size is pretty cool.
It is
when
really
he's on the back of Ant 278, 279, whatever it is.
I love how his daughter is like, I hope you don't find him.
Yeah.
Just think it's really sweet.
Yeah.
His daughter is like you can tell that as funny as Scott Lang is, you could tell that his daughter gets her sense of humor from him.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a question about, so we have a scene that Hank is basically describing his, like, suit and why he isn't Ant-Man anymore. He basically says if the suit takes a toll on him physically and he doesn't feel like he can wear it anymore. Why does he want to inflict that on somebody else?
He also has the emotional pain from being Ant-Man also.
But, I mean, I get that he had, like, the trauma of his wife dying.
That's when he quit being Ant-Man, is when his wife died.
Yeah, but is it only emotional toll?
I think it's emotional. But also back then, the PEM particles were a new thing. He was still trying to learn it, so he's probably also... because I doubt that's the original suit. That's probably a modified, newer version of it. To be safer.
Okay.
Because going big, small, big, small, big, small... Granted, it's not affecting the atoms or the mass of the person.
Okay, because I have read a number of things that suggest that the suit is only affecting the size and not the mass.
No. Yeah, that's what they were saying.
So, presumably, Paul Rudd's probably, 182, or 185-ish?
Sure.
So, he's a quarter
idea.
of an inch tall and 185 pounds.
They were talking about that in the movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Because he would have to... Because all that is doing is just expanding the size of the distance between the molecules.
I failed physics. Or chemistry or whatever science.
This would be biology. Biology and physics.
I think I failed that too. I'm really bad at science.
Yeah, so it's not changing his mass. I mean, technically it is, but it's shrinking the distance between the molecules in him to be microscopic.
In the real world, scientifically, is this possible?
Not now. Maybe in the future. But I mean, what? 30 years? Because there's people that can freeze themselves with cryogenics or something like that, where you can freeze yourself which is possible, but 30 years ago, no one knew.
I mean, the only cryogenic thing I've seen is it, like,
Walt Disney's head?
No, I was more talking about those places that, like, claim to, like, freeze your fat and, like, your body can die, like, I don't actually know the science behind it.
There are companies.
You basically go into, like, a chamber and it
Yeah.
just makes you really, really cold, and it's something about...
And you just fall asleep. It replaces all your blood with a different type of liquid, but it keeps you alive, but your heart rate goes so slow where you're essentially dead.
We have our classic training montage.
Yeah.
Where they're teaching him how to train. They're trying to get him to go through a keyhole.
Which is really funny. Because he just keeps messing up over and over.
I wonder if this Pim's house is a real house or it's a soundstage. Or a set.
Probably a set, I'm
guessing. Because it's a really cool old house. I like it. Yeah. We have another badass woman in Hope Pym. And I'm so excited to get another badass woman.
But the training montage with him going through the keyhole is all really funny.
So, I asked Matthew this, and I was wondering if how they shoot the scenes where he's, like, going through the grass, or, like, there's a scene at the end where he's, like, going through the carpet fibers.
It's all FX.
Because this is a really bad example, but the movie Cats...
Can we not talk about fire, please?
I'm not talking about the details of that movie. But basically, they shot that movie with, like, giant furniture to make everybody look small.
No, it was mainly FX. For most of the Ant-Man shots when he was tiny were all FX.
The scene of him running through
VFX or whatever.
The scene of him running through the garden reminded me of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and frankly, that movie came out in, the 80s, and aged fairly well.
Okay.
In comparison.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've seen it a really long time ago. I feel like this movie is teaching kids to befriend bugs.
All kids befriend bugs.
I mean, he literally names a bug Antony. I feel like kids are just gonna, like, go run out in their garden and just, like, name bugs. I didn't know that there were this many type of ants.
I mean, there's only 4 in the movie.
I mean, all I know are, like, regular ants and fire ants, which clearly this isn't Texas, because our fire ants here are a different breed.
Our fire ants here are demon spawns.
I had never heard of anybody being allergic to fire ants until, like, my mom discovered she was allergic to fire ants. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And, like, trust me, if you ever come to Texas, avoid anthills like the plague. Yeah. Fire ant allergies are not uncommon.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And they hurt.
They hurt so bad. I don't know if... And I'm sure other states have fire ants, but, like, I can't imagine they're as bad as...
No, fire ants are just painful in general.
I feel like our fire ants are, like... You get bit by one and you feel like you have a sunburn on your entire body.
That's mainly just how fire ants are.
It's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he basically trains these ants to...
Each ant did a different thing. So, like, the fire ants were great builders. So they could do...
They're good carpenters, as
good
Pim
carpenters.
says.
Where they could
architecture or something.
Where they could make bridges or whatever, and then there was another one that could do handle electricity.
There's the bullet ants. Are those real things?
Yes. All the ants are real.
I don't know. I do not like the bug stuff.
Yeah,
in this
all
movie.
the ants were real.
I really especially didn't like, we'll get to it, but I really didn't like that the giant ant at the end becomes her pet. If I was that kid's mom, I'd be like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not happening. I don't want my kid to ever have, like, creepy crawlies as pets.
Yeah.
That is gross.
So...
Don't bring bugs in my house. Stop it.
When Lane gets better with controlling them, they go on a secret mission to get this security device. Like, to wipe out the security system.
Yes. Of Cross's building.
Yes. So, this used to be an old S.H.I.E.L.D. warehouse. They didn't know that it turned into the new Avengers.
To be fair, it only just.
Yeah, it just turned into...
I think literally the end of Ultron.
Yeah. So, they didn't realize that it was the new Avengers headquarters.
And
or the new Avengers training facility.
He runs into Falcon.
Which makes sense because Falcon is technically the newest Avenger.
Well, like...
And Falcon lives there and trains there.
I don't think we actually ended up touching on it at the end of Ultron, but, like, they basically have, like, the...
I think we did. Yeah, we
What
did.
I refer to as the Avengers inner circle, and then we have, like, the outer Avengers, and we have, like, the tertiary Avengers.
Yeah, we did.
There's, like, different circles.
No, they're all just one Avengers.
You get what I'm trying to say, though.
Yeah.
We have, like, our core, and then we have, like, the
They're
outer
all-
ring, and then we have, like, it spreads out and out and out.
They're all core now. Everyone is.
Um,
But, so, there's that fight.
I love how he's like, I'm a big fan.
Hi, I'm Scott. Did you say I'm Scott? He's dead. He's going to lose my suit. He's going to lose his life.
So basically, Cross comes to Pym's house.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically says he's upping the security, so they figure out they have to use the water mains to break
Yeah,
in.
so he goes and he has Hank come to the opening because they were able to shrink a lamp.
So, here's my question.
Yeah.
Why did they have to break in through the water mains when Scott could have just, like, shrunk himself down and, like, been in, like, Luis's pocket or something?
Metal detectors. They upped all of the security.
I know,
There was
but-
motion sensors. There were
Why
3D
couldn't he-
sensors.
Why couldn't he just, like, walk into the building with Scott in his pocket?
Because that would have been picked up on the detectors.
He's tiny.
Do you really think a person who is trying to make things tiny is not going to have countermeasures to a person that can be tiny before?
I'm just saying.
Do you really think Cross would allow that? In all honesty? Cross is a genius. He is technically he is the evil version of Hank. He's the opposite of the same coin.
He kind of gave me Jeff Bezos energy.
If Bezos was an evil villain.
Isn't he? I'm
No,
kidding.
we cannot say that to
Our evil overlords?
Yes. No, but Cross and Pym are the same person, just opposite sides of the coin. They're both geniuses in the same field. They both created the same...
And also Pym trained him.
Yes.
So essentially he knows everything that Pym... Well, not everything, but he...
Almost everything.
So when Luis disguises himself as a security guard, and when he walks in, he's humming the tune to It's a Small World.
Yeah. So,
Which is both a pun and a Disney reference.
Yeah, but...
Get it? Because it's a
Yes.
small... Okay.
Yes, I got it. No, so... when they're going over the security stuff, how to break in, Ant-Man puts on the suit, shrinks down, and freaks out Luis. After Luis saying, "You won't scare me. Look down here. Get it off! Get it off! I thought you were going to be scared, Daddy." Or whatever he said.
That moment where they basically take out the security guy with all the bullet ants.
Oh, no.
Oh!
Yeah, no.
No, thank you.
But literally, they start humming. He starts whistling right after they say, "No whistling."
Yeah, the bug stuff is really unsettling in this movie. I don't like it. I think that really plays into... Well, probably the biggest thing I don't like about this movie is the bug stuff. And the rat. Didn't like that.
Of course there's gonna be bug stuff.
No, and I know. That doesn't mean I enjoy it. It is... The bugs are integral to the plot, and I hate it. Like, I could have done without that. If they were, like, birds or, like, any other creature, maybe not snakes. Snakes are gross. But, like...
Snake Man.
But, like, bugs... Ugh, they're so gross.
Couldn't Voldemort be Snake Man?
We have our classic villain monologue, where he basically is, like, Bond villaining all over the place.
Yeah. And we learned that Hydra is still around.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, the dude that Hank breaks the nose in the first scene was a Hydra agent all the way back then. Hydra got infiltrated back in this 60s or 70s or whenever the...
Well, Hydra was still a thing in
yes.
Winter Soldier.
Hydra was always a thing. Hydra was still a thing in Age of Ultron. Hydra was still a thing.
If they can enlarge and shrink whatever they want, anything is possible. Because we basically figure out that Pym has this keychain of a tank. So Pym has this little tank keychain that it's basically a shrunk down tank.
Which we see a lot more of, like, shrunk down vehicles.
Which again still poses is that still do we still retain the mass question? So that keychain is like heavy as hell.
Mass is different than weight.
Okay. I'm really dumb when it comes to this stuff.
Best example, you can have a pound of stainless steel.
And a pound of feathers.
Yes, they're both a pound, so the weight is the same, but the mass is different for the steel compared to the feathers. The weight will be much, much smaller. Mass is relative to whatever. So
I don't understand.
If he dropped the tank,
it would thud?
Yes. Kind of like when Ant-Man fell on the tile in the bathroom scene. When he first turned into Ant-Man and the tile cracked.
Okay.
Or when Ant-Man was thrown through the window and the window shattered. Or when he fell on the cab ceiling. The cab roof.
Okay.
Just because he weighs very little, that doesn't change the mass of it.
See, this seems really cut and dry, but for some reason my brain is not computing.
The weight of the tank could be the weight of a Hot Wheel car. But if he dropped it, it would go thud because of its mass. If that makes sense.
I'll take your word for it. R.I.P. Anthony.
Yeah. But that was still a cool shot where you saw like the bullets going slow.
I thought that they attached the wings.
No, ants can fly.
No. I don't like that. No. I do not like that. Do not look up a picture. Oh, no. But there's like a shot of his wing
just falling down.
It's very sad.
Yeah. After Anthony dies, we see Ant-Man fly into the helicopter and start beating them up super tiny.
Yeah, and we basically, like, are we in somebody's purse or something?
No, so during the fight, Cross puts the Yellow Jacket suit on. Mm-hmm. And they both fall into the briefcase. That was holding the Yellow Jacket.
One of my favorite things in film is, so basically they're in the briefcase and the phone, the Siri gets activated and starts playing a song.
Yellow Jacket says, "I'm going to disintegrate you," and Siri starts playing Disintegration by The Cure.
So one of my favorite things in film, and they do it a lot they do it a lot with where somebody is wearing headphones and you're hearing music and then they take the headphones off and the music kind of like dulls a little bit.
Yeah.
And you could just hear it in the background where the characters are talking. This, I think it's like such a genius way to put music in a scene, is to put it like the music like as part of the scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love it every time.
Disintegration, it worked so well because it was still such of a cool fight scene in the briefcase with them just flying around each other, trying to hit each other.
Yeah.
which was still a pretty cool scene.
So then we go to...
They fall into the pool.
Yeah, they fall... Oh, yeah, they go to that random family's house and scare the bejesus out of them.
The briefcase falls into the pool. Ant-Man comes out, says, "Don't worry, I'm a hero." Cross comes out, hits him. They both go little again. Scott gets big and hits him with a...
Into the bug zapper.
With a...
ping pong paddle.
Yeah, with a ping pong paddle. Then we realize Cross is still alive.
Somehow.
He gets electrocuted back to life. So he pretty much got charged back to life.
Mm-hmm.
By the bug zapper. And then he goes to...
Cassie's room. Which
house.
Is his daughter.
Yeah.
And there's a play train. Thomas the Train Engine. And they basically have this whole fight scene on the train, but they're little.
Which looks really...
It reminds me so much of the imagination scene in Toy Story. Which Toy Story is that?
That's 2.
Is that 2?
Yes.
I thought it was 4.
How would it be 4?
There's an imagination scene in every Toy Story movie.
Yeah, but the one where...
The one that's like Wild West themed.
Yes,
The first one that I thought.
That was 2.
I'll take your word for it. It's been a while since I've seen them.
I think it was 2. It's 1 or 2. Because 3... It's not 3. Because 3 was with them in the daycare. And 4 was Forky. But that fight scene in there is so cool because, like, the trains look massive, but
and then,
they're
like,
just
it zooms
toys.
out to, like, human size, and it just, like, knocks off.
Yeah.
No, it's like the train just, like, falls off the track.
Because, it hits Yellow Jacket and it just topples over, which he freaks out because it looks massive.
I just think it's really funny that you see it from, like, the human size point of view, and then
falls
just falls off.
Just falls over. Because there's, like, in so many action movies, there's always a fight scene on a train. Where it's, like, massive.
Or they're trying to stop a train full of people. Or...
Yeah.
They even had that in Ultron.
And then this one was them fighting around a toy train.
And it's Thomas of all.
Yes.
But then the train gets, like, blown up to...
Because...
giant size.
So...
The people on the street were like, what the hell?
So, there's also... That's when the ant got big. Because Lang was throwing the blue discs at Yellow Jacket.
Yeah.
To make him big.
What is it called? The regulator?
The regulator's on his belt.
Yeah, but the little disc thingies.
Those go in the regulator.
Okay.
Those are what the regulator uses to grow or shrink. Mm-hmm. Don't ever mess with the regulator.
Well, it's literally what killed the original Wasp.
She turned it off.
Okay.
She turned her regulator off and shrunk.
Yeah.
To blow up the missile. The blue discs, he throws one at the ant, and he's throwing them at Yellow Jacket. He misses Yellow Jacket, hits the ant, makes the ant giant dog-sized.
No, I don't like that.
And also he hit Thomas, and Thomas flew out of the house.
Is there more gross bug stuff in the second one? Because I don't know if I can handle that.
Yes.
Are there rodents in the second one?
We deal with flying rodents. Pigeons.
They really are rats with wigs.
Yes. No, we see that closer to the end of the movie. But they're still ants because it's Ant-Man.
I'm just really glad he's not Rodent Man. Because I really have this, like, deep-seated fear now of rodents. They are
Rodent Man would be Bruno.
We don't talk about him.
Scott shrinks and tells Cassie, "I love you." And he goes
so cute.
He goes into the Yellow Jacket's quote unquote regulator, which is in, like, the suit in the back, the thing that's made out of titanium.
Mm-hmm.
He shrinks into it and shrinks the suit with Cross in it.
Okay, that scene is so dark.
And then you see Scott going through the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Which was all the geometric stuff.
Question.
What?
this might be really dumb to people who, like...
Are you about to ask if the quantum realm is real?
No. Is this the same thing that Tony sees when he...
No.
Okay, sorry.
What he saw was the opposite of space. The quantum realm is the space between molecules. It's what molecules are made out of.
Sorry.
Are you talking about the scene in
First Avengers when Tony goes up to space?
No. He just sees the other side of space.
Okay, they just look similar. Cinematography-wise, it looked kind of similar. That's why I'm making the connection.
Okay, no,
You get where I'm going, though.
Yeah, no, Scott shrunk so small he was between molecules. So he was, like, in the atoms, in pretty much the building blocks of life he was in. But in the space in Cassie's room.
I love the shot where he's like, he said I love you to Cassie, and then he shrinks down, and there's like, you see his like tiny little shadow in the lamp, and he's just like waving to her, and it's so sweet.
Yeah, so Scott's fumbling to get the giant disc out.
Because it's like floating in front of him.
Yeah. But he can hear Cassie because he's still in the same spot in her room.
Yeah. It kind of... Have you ever seen Interstellar?
No.
I don't know how I'm supposed to explain this, because it's a very confusing
I know
movie.
that there are some planets where 1 second there is 1 year on Earth.
No, there's a scene in Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey's daughter...
Yeah.
As a child, is like in her bedroom, and he's basically kind of in between time and space, and he can see her as a child, and he's like through her bookshelf, and he can like hear her talking, but like as a child, but his daughter is like a full-grown adult. Yeah. It's very confusing. That movie is like a total like brain.
Yes. So he can still hear Cassie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what woke him up. But when you're in the quantum realm, time is different. Time doesn't move the same way there as it does not out of the quantum realm. That's why
These movies are getting so much more confusing.
That's why it seems like it's
And we haven't even touched the multiverse yet.
No. I'm going to have to explain so much to you. I'm going to have to explain so much to you. But, so it was like, he was in there for a good solid hour. That's why, like, Cassie was back on the bed, not freaking out, things like that. While for Lank, it was like a couple minutes. But in real life, it was probably an hour or so.
So we, like, see, like, a shot from the street. We see all, like, the neighbors and stuff, and there's the giant Thomas the Train, like, broken through the roof. And the giant ant comes out of the house, and the neighbor's like,
no,
that's
the police officer.
Yeah, the police officer is like, that's a messed up looking dog, man.
Yeah.
And then we have our, basically there's a scene, the end scene is, they're all having...
There's two
No.
credits.
The movie ends.
Oh, yeah.
The movie ends with Cassie and
all four of them
eating dinner.
Yeah.
And you basically figure out that her mom let her keep the giant ant thing.
Yes.
And like I said before, my child will not be allowed to keep critters as pets. Because that is so gross.
But then we also see this Scott and Hope get together, and
I thought that was a little random.
Why?
They were kind of flirting, but like she kind of didn't want anything to do with him.
Because she didn't trust him. But now she does. Because she wanted to be Ant-Man. Or Ant-Woman. Ant-Person? I don't know.
And then we get the end credits sequences.
Which, the first one, Hope gets the Wasp suit.
Yeah.
And the cool thing with both of their suits is
they look like the face of the bug.
Yeah. On the chest, Hope has a wasp face on it, and Ant-Man has an ant on the front of it.
Are we gonna see, like, actual wasps?
I don't think so.
Thank God, because those things are freaking terrifying.
I still need to watch.
And then the second one is Steve and Bucky, and they mentioned something called The Accords.
You'll learn about that. You'll learn about that in Civil War.
So this kind of implies that Bucky is kind of coming to a little bit.
Más o menos.
Okay.
Más o menos. Somewhat. They're still trying to unbrainwash him. Other part of... Or before that, we see Falcon talking to a reporter chick who...
Oh, yeah, and the reporter... So, the report at the very, very end... this reporter chick is played by a girl named Anna Akana, who is a YouTuber, and, like, she does a lot of, like, short little, like, thought-provoking videos on YouTube that are really interesting. But yeah, she's primarily a YouTuber, which I thought was really fun that she got this, like, really cool Marvel role. She's friends with, like, John Cozart and, like, a lot of her friends, anybody who, like, frequents YouTube and everything, would, like, she's like, a classic. Like, okay. I think she's friends with, like, Grace Helbig and John Cozart and a lot of those kind of people.
Okay.
You know who John Cozart is, right?
Sure.
He's the guy who does the Disney Ever After songs, like, where it's, like, the dark Disney princess
Maybe
songs. You would know if you heard it.
Okay. So, we get the second Woolies explaining scene.
Yeah.
Where Louise is telling him that Falcon is looking for him to join a team. Which, actually, funny thing, this movie was actually supposed to be the start of Phase 3. Or first, it was supposed to be part of Phase 1, but then it got pushed back. So,
this kind of goes into what we were talking about at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Why didn't they make this the start of Phase 3?
It made more sense, since Falcon was in it, to do it right after Winter Soldier. They also had to change directors and a few other things.
Personally, I think that Ultron made a lot more sense at the end of a phase.
Yes.
A lot more
Because
sense.
Originally this was going to be in Phase 1.
Sure.
I mean...
I just don't think it makes sense as the end of a phase, is what my point is.
Yeah, no. So...
Normally we'd go into some fun facts. However, there's not a whole lot of fun facts about this movie that aren't... this person was previously in the movie with this person, and this person was considered for this role. Yeah. I don't find those things particularly that interesting. So I instead went into some of the continuity errors, and found some of those. So most of the ants in the movie are referred to as being male, whereas in actual ant colonies, nearly all ants are female, and males only live long enough to mate. Yeah. So most of the ants in the movie should be female. Also, more sciencey stuff. Scott and Darren's voices remain the same when shrunk to insect size, whereas in real life, sound waves create a higher pitch when moved through a small area and a deeper pitch in a larger area. Like when your voice cracks during puberty. Yeah. Because the throat is now larger, so your vocal cords need to expand. So they should have really squeaky voices. An ant would not be able to survive growing to the size of a dog because they lack lungs. Yeah, there's really not that many interesting facts in this. I try to look up like interesting filmmaking facts, and there's just not a lot of interesting ones for this one. That's pretty much all we have to say. Like overall, I don't love this as the end of a phase. Like I've said before, I thought it was a fun movie, but it wasn't as good as I was expecting.
Okay.
So, like, what... I know this is your favorite movie. Like, why is this your favorite movie? Just because of the comedy? But is Ant-Man, like, in your favorite top favorite superheroes?
I wouldn't say my top favorite superheroes.
You just like the movie because it's funny?
Yeah.
Do you like the plot?
Yeah, I mean, it is... But also, when this was made, we didn't really know of, like, the phases yet.
Oh, it wasn't called that yet?
No. They were just movies.
Just based on how much this movie was built up to me, I'm a little disappointed. I didn't hate the movie, though. Could have done without the bug stuff. I don't think I will be rewatching this movie because of that. Alright, so next week we will be covering Captain America Civil War, and we will be joined by our friends over at Team Unicorn, so check them out if you're interested in, like, Disney and Marvel, obviously, and just, like, all the Disney IPs, basically, is what they cover.
Yeah.
And, we'll be joined by them. They're a fellow husband and wife team, and it'll be a lot of fun. They both really, really love Captain America, and so it'll be fun to get that perspective on that episode, and, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Have a good week, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to send us any feedback or any messages, you can follow us over on Instagram at thefanclub_podcast or on Twitter at fanclub_podcast. Or you can discuss each episode with us over on our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/thefanclubpodcast. And make sure that you tune in every Marvel Monday.